why you were so sleepy. And then as soon as we record, you're like, you know what sounds good? Violence. Or at least milk.
Hey, thanks for joining the Escape With Me Book Club. Escape with me, Lizzie Sawyer.
And me, Sam Reiner.
Into our most recent read. Come with us as we evade reality and go into detail about a new book. We're going to be covering it from beginning to end, so remember, there will be spoilers.
Today we are going to Dublin, Ireland. Published on April 3rd, 2007, Skulduggery Pleasant is the first of the Skulduggery Pleasant series. No way!
For reals?
Going with it, Stephanie's life is absolutely mind-numbingly normal until her Uncle Gordon dies and leaves her a large inheritance. Unknown to her, though, she has also inherited great magical powers and soon finds her introduction to the magical world. However, she is entered at a particularly dangerous time. The magic world is about to be ripped apart by war. As Stephanie struggles to master any magic powers at all, she will need to rely on her other skills as she and Skulduggery work to take down one of the most dangerous wizards still alive. So this is a you pick.
Yes, I love this series. I've been reading this series for years and years and years and years.
Since 2007?
Maybe. We were still in middle school in 2007, and that's when I started reading this series. So yeah, probably.
Well, there you go. I was wondering, where in the world did you find this series? Do you remember?
You assume that I found it. No, Mom suggested this one to me.
Oh, right. I forgot. That's the order of things.
I don't pick out my own books. Are you kidding? I mean, I do now, but none of the YA novels that I've read in the past were picked out by me.
So how did your mom find it?
If I knew that, saw it on Goodreads, probably. Well, it was just Shelfari back in the day, and then it got eaten by Goodreads. And so she probably saw it on one of the forums on one of the book websites that she was on at the time.
Well, thank her for me.
Because it's good.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I will say that. Age level, this is mid-lit, but older mid-lit.
Oh, definitely older mid-lit. And it ages with the reader, too, as you get further into the series.
Yeah.
Because these get hecka dark.
Yeah, just from the covers alone, I kind of got that vibe.
Oh, there's mental breakdown stuff, and it's hecka dark.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely some stuff to come. You can tell there's a lot of things that are being censored for Stephanie because, she's 11.
12. Something.
I didn't write it down, so that probably means it was like, about
15 age-ish.
Tween.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have read this in middle school, but I had issues with nightmares.
Yeah.
Where it wouldn't be so much the book itself, but it would introduce stuff into my brain, and then my brain would be like, oh, you think that's scary? And then it would make it like 1,000 times worse. So I had issues with scary books. So know yourself / your child when introducing stuff. But
I didn't really consider this a scary book, but I read ghost story books in middle school, which I don't do anymore because those actively give me nightmares, and it was a really bad idea to read those, and I still regret reading them to this day. By the way, don't read ghost story books. Anyway.
So, content warning. Murder, language, PG-13, kidnapping, blood, graphic violence, torture, death of a spouse, and child mentioned. So not long, but more than your average mid-lit-ish.
Depends on the midlit.
True, if it's series of unfortunate events, we probably got something longer, but if it's Swindle, much shorter. That movie.
That movie.
It was something. Judge a book by its cover. Okay, so I've seen two covers, and one has Skulduggery doing it's
like a fire in the front, right? It's the green one.
No, there's one where it has a skeleton very obviously, and he has his hat, and he's doing his fingers like he's holding a gun. Charlie Angel's pose,
Oh, I don't have that cover. I haven't seen that one.
Then there's a blue cover where it's Skulduggery's silhouette and Stephanie's on it. That's my favorite, by the way.
I haven't seen that one either. This is not the cover that I have.
What one do you have? I mean, it's been since 2007. I'm not terribly surprised there's been reprints.
Hold up. I'll find it and send it to you. Hold up. There are so many different covers for these books.
Right?
These are the two covers that I've seen for the first book. The black and white one is the one I actively have.
And I've just introduced two more into your brain.
I mean, they're all very similar. I really like the one that I have because it feels more noir, detective book series stuff.
The black and white one is very nice, but I like the blue, white, and black.
Also, if you notice in the silhouette, right, down at the bottom of the black and white one, the chick on the far right-hand side holding the sword, that is probably Tanith, right? Is she wearing bell-bottoms?
If I had to say, it does feel very bell-bottom-esque.
Or, in my head, right, have you seen any Doctor Who with Rose in it, like early Rose with the bald doctor with the leather jacket?
Yeah.
How she dresses for, like, early 2000s?
With the flared jeans?
Yes.
I could see that. I mean, this came out in 2007. Wasn't that around the same time?
Because this came out in 2007. Yes.
There we go.
That's my headcanon. That's how Tanith dresses.
I love how everyone else is just standing there and she's like, nah.
I sword.
Charlie's Angels pose. I love it. And he's the good guy. Oh my gosh. The tagline. I will say, with all of the colors, well, all the colors, but all of the covers, it was pretty obvious that Skulduggery was a skeleton. And so when the book was like, oh my gosh, he's wearing a huge wig and has long clothes and big sunglasses, I'm like, yeah, because he's a skeleton. And then later his wig falls off and stuff, and Stephanie's like, oh my gosh, he's a skeleton. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, but she didn't know that, though.
She didn't know that, which is fair, but I am apparently not a huge fan of dramatic irony. I'm just like, come on, yeah, that's great. He's in disguise.
It was a surprise for me when I first read this book because I listened to the audiobook and didn't actually look at the cover.
Fair. But I will say, it kind of looked like Skulduggery is the villain and the woman was the heroine, even though I knew that wasn't true because you've told me about these books.
Yeah.
But just the vibe from the blue one, where she's a smaller silhouette and he's the bigger silhouette, kind of looking to the side, it's like, oh, she's got to go hunt down a skeleton. And yes, but not for the same reasons I thought. But yeah, that was what I thought from the cover. You didn't have a cover apparently, but your mom had a good track record of recommending books. So I will say, there are times when you read a book, and as someone who enjoys writing, but probably not, I want to be a professional writer or anything, but I just enjoy writing as a hobby. There are some times where you find books and you read them and you go, I wish this was my writing. That is this book for me. I wish. He has the best conversations and his action scenes are gorgeous. So many times with action scenes, I either can't picture it in my mind or I get kind of pulled out of it. But his, I could see every single step and it made sense to me and it was engaging and it was entertaining. And I wish I could write like that, especially since action scenes are kind of my downside, my weakness in all of this. But he does so well, and low-key, I would totally just buy the book just to study how he does action scenes and be like, okay, how do you do it and what can I learn from you? It was a joy reading this book. Thank you. I will pick this book series if you do not pick this book series.
Okay. I think I've only read 4 into the series, and I know there's more of those now.
Yeah, and he's kept going. He has so many books, and for each book, he has a 1.5. The 1.5 for this is Skulduggery when he's in the castle and he's been taken alive and is being tortured and whatever, and that is a 28-page 1.5 that talks about that. And every book has at least 1.5 or whatever. It is like, dude, this is a passion. I think he's up to like 14 books. It's something ridiculous at this point, because he's been published just about one every single year since 2007, plus the 0.5 and the 0.4s and the 0.2s.
Is he with a publishing company or does he self-publish?
I would not be surprised if he self-published.
I was just curious because I would feel like a publishing company wouldn't necessarily like the 0.5s and the in-between books.
Let's see. According to Wikipedia, he's also Irish, so I don't know what the Irish publishing industry is like. Let's see. Oh, there's a first series, and then there's a second series, and then there's a prequel series. So the first series ran 2007 to 2014, and then the second season ran 2017 to 2022, and now he's releasing a 2023 book for the prequel series, which is continuing. So there were 9 books in the first series and 6 in the second, and now we are on to the prequels.
Oh, you know the prequels has to deal with Gordon and stuff. Has to. That's be a fun read. Unless it doesn't, which is also fun.
Okay, so at least the second series is through a publisher because it was 9 books planned, but the series was cut down to 6 books by HarperCollins.
Disgusting.
And then he's doing a one-off prequel. Yeah, so HarperCollins has been doing all of them.
Huh, okay.
The success of the first novel ensured that the deal was extended first to 6 books, and in 2011, HarperCollins signed the deal for the third and final trilogy. So that would be all the 9 books. They are published as trilogies, apparently. Well, there you go.
Good to know.
So I kind of love the beginning of this book because somebody dies, but it's like the best death scene ever. It's just this dude typing away, writing a book, and then he dies and his spirit leaves his body. And he's just basically like, Oh, dang it. I didn't finish that. And that is the funniest thing to me.
I want to spoil part of the second book and I can't. She'll kill me.
No, you can't. I will say, going back, since we found out that what's-his-face evil dude,
Serpine
is the one who killed him with the hand, and it's supposed to be the worst pain you've ever experienced. I was surprised a little bit that Gordon was like, oh, dang it. But I loved it. I'm touching on something.
Sorry, I can't.
I'm touching on something, and it's really bothering you.
It's just a little. Well, I mean, I just want to make little side comments, and I'm like, no, because if I make that side comment, you being you, you're gonna guess this important plot point in the next book, and I don't want to do that.
You literally could be like, but Gordon's favorite color is blue. And it was like, aha, Gordon is not dead, actually. I have a problem. It makes it really hard to be my Secret Santa.
That's why I don't talk to you about Christmas when I have you. Or if I have a surprise, I can't bring up the topic at all because you'll just guess what it is. That's why you can't give any hints.
I'm so sorry.
No hints.
I am the worst. Yeah, no, you're not allowed to give hints. You're just gonna have to pick the second book so we can talk about it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I do have a question. Is this summer vacation or is she just skipping school? It has to be summer vacation, right?
I don't know how their school system works, but yeah, she's not currently in school right now because she starts school again in the next book.
Okay, because I don't know about Ireland specifically, but I know in the UK, they are very serious about truancy. You can go to jail for your child not going to school. It is very serious. I mean, you can eventually in the US, but it's not as serious. We can be like, hey, we're going to Disney for a week.
The school's like, you were gone?
But over there is you have to tell them you're doing it and you have to get them to agree, and it's like a whole thing. So I was like, it has to be summer vacation or whatever vacation. It's like a 2-week time period about?
They're on break.
Of some sort. It's fine. I was just curious because it never specifically mentions. Is she homeschooled?
No, she's not. She's just not currently in school.
I will say that this author really likes the letter S.
What makes you say that?
Stephanie, Skulduggery, Serpine. When 3 out of your, 5 main characters start with an S?
China, Bliss, Morwenna, Tome.
One of the elders starts with an S. That's the one that betrays him.
No, because it's Tome.
Well, that's his last name. It's Sag...
I don't have a book that I can open to look to see. I don't think he used that many S's, personally.
Not too many S's when you look at all of them, but when you rank them, the 2 main characters and the main villain have an S.
Yeah, but she doesn't stay Stephanie for very long. They almost never use that name from that point forward.
Well, in this book, she does.
Valkyrie is a much cooler name.
Valkyrie is a much cooler name, I will agree. Although I have questions about the name logic, because it's like, oh, you have to have a secret name that you don't even know, and then you have to have your name that you had before.
You don't have to have a secret name. You have a secret name.
Okay, fair.
It's the name that the universe gave you when you were born, which is why you don't know it. And then your parents gave you a name, and like with the Fae, names have power, and so you have to seal your name with a false name, like an alias, essentially.
Yeah. But China totally knows both of Stephanie's names, so does that mean her magic would still work on her?
No, once you have a taken name, you can't use the given name against them. It seals your name. That's a whole thing.
I'm a little confused, but it might become more clear as time goes on, and maybe that gets played with more.
No, they don't talk about it again.
Oh, no, never mind. I would just always be confused a little bit.
It's just, if you don't have a name to cover over, I'm trying to think of a good analogy.
But they still know the name. That's where I get stuck. I thought one of them had to be secret, and then it was like, nope, this is the name. Because none of them are giving her their original names.
Well, yeah, because they all have aliases.
It just is. It's okay.
It just is. Let's just move on. I don't have the brain power to go into, and I would need to do more research into the background and history of magic with names, and I haven't done that right now. I don't have the brain power for a deep dive into the name logic. There's an episode of Spirits that I just listened to that's all about name logic. I will send it to you.
Maybe we will get there. So Gordon dies, and this is Stephanie's uncle. So they go to the will reading, and Stephanie gets everything.
No, not everything, because her other uncle, Uncle Fergus,
gets really ugly jewelry, quote unquote.
Yeah, they get the car, and they get the boat, and they get a brooch. And her parents get the villa. Because of the way that the narrator who reads this voices Beryl, right? It's this shrill woman. Just, they get the villa! It's just, well, that's what it sounds like, too, because it's a dude that does the narration inspiration for the books that I read. The way he reads it, I can visualize her going across the table and being like, swap!
That sounds fun.
It's beautiful. Also, this man's voice is gorgeous.
But Stephanie ends up with everything else, including this big mansion. And Stephanie convinces her mom, hey, you should totally let me stay at the mansion overnight because it's mine.
No, because the car breaks down and they can't leave. And so they call a tow truck, and there's only enough room in the tow truck for her mom because the dude's got a dog, and it's raining really hard. And by the time the mom tries to come back, the road's washed out and flooded. And so Stephanie's like, well, I'll just stay in the house. It's my house.
And at this point, I was immediately like, okay, we're Skulduggery. What type of shenanigans are we about to get into? Some very serious shenanigans, apparently. I was just expecting Skull to show up. I was not expecting this random dude to call her at the midnight and be like, where's the thing? And then try to break in her house.
Well, he just called the house to see if someone was in there so that he could break in, because I assumed she still had a light on.
She has terrible luck of all the nights to be like, hey, I could totally stay at the house. It is the worst night for her to be doing that.
Well, when you stay at a house that you have known for years, you don't think to yourself, hey, someone could potentially break in, right?
Until someone is potentially breaking in. Oh my gosh. That's when Skull shows up and apparently shoots fire from his hands because,
Elemental magic.
And then it doesn't affect the man. And my brain was like, what is happening?
Well, yeah, it's because he's warded himself against fire.
And then he just pulls out a gun.
Well, yeah, when magic doesn't work, you have to have a backup.
It reminded me of that scene from Indiana Jones where he was supposed to do this whole thing. And then Harrison Ford just got tired and just pulled out his pistol and pretended to shoot him. And then they went with it.
Yeah, it wasn't scripted at all. He's just really tired.
And that's how I felt with Skulduggery. He was like, oh, that didn't work. Gun.
Oh, fire's not working? That's fine. I brought a gun to this firefight.
And this is how you know this is an urban fantasy. We have fire magic and guns.
We have the technology.
We have technology. Oh my gosh. And so I do like name magic. Name magic is fun, even though I am confused. But yeah, there's just a door on its hinges because this guy broke in. I think there's a broken window too.
Yeah, because he couldn't get through the door, so he went through the window. Skull went through the door because Stephanie had locked it.
And that's why it's on its hinges. And it's so funny because in my mind, her mom's gonna freak out so bad. And Skulduggery's just picking up the door and is like, well, oops. And I think he fixes it by the next day. But it was just a funny scene where he's like, oh, your door here. Sorry about that. And then, of course, Stephanie gets her Ariel moment where Skulduggery's like, you shouldn't learn magic and you should go hang out with your parents like a good kid. And she's like, I don't need my parents' permission. And you just sigh and you're like, honey, you're 12. Dang it, Ariel, you're 16. You're not an adult. But somehow it works out because her parents are going to work and she doesn't have school right now. I'm really curious next book how school's going to turn out.
Well, she's got the reflection now.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That still has its drawbacks.
Actually, it becomes a really great plot device. I love how he ends up using it as a plot device. It's wonderful.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Good. I'm glad it wasn't just like, and magic.
No, it's a plot device. I think it's a plot device in the next couple of books, actually.
So Skulduggery just explains all the entire magic world to this random 12-year-old that he has adopted.
Well, it's his best friend's niece, who's practically his best friend's daughter.
That he has never met before. Has heard a lot about her, though. But yeah, he just basically adopts Stephanie.
What is Gordon gonna do? Here, niece, this is my skeleton best friend.
Why not? He could have worn his wig.
I mean,
But Skulduggery basically adopts this child and is like, hey, this is the magical world and how it works. It doesn't work for you, though, so stop trying.
Well, he doesn't want to bring Stephanie with him at first, and then she's like, yeah, but I have your hat. What are you gonna do? I have your hat. And I'm gonna stand on it if you don't bring me with you.
Which is another Indiana Jones moment right there. He always gets his hat back. But so he tells that, and then he's like, oh yeah, and Serpine, and the Scepter, and the Ancients, and agonizing death spells. And Stephanie's like, cool.
So my uncle was murdered? Question mark.
So my uncle was murdered, and when can I learn magic?
No and no, but let's go get you a protective suit that has magic threads in it that'll stop bullets just in case.
So they go to Ghastly, and Ghastly's like, what did you do? Immediately.
Ghastly's awesome. I love him. He's a tailor, and his mom's a boxer, and his dad is, I think, also a tailor.
That sounds right.
So he knows how to box from his mom, and he knows how to sell from his dad, and it's wonderful.
And he just has a storage unit filled with magical crap.
Well, it's his family's, so it's generations of stuff.
Of magical crap.
Yeah, of magical crap. I mean, magical people have to have storage units too.
Apparently.
Just because they have magic doesn't mean they don't need somewhere to put all of their stuff. Honestly, they need it even more because they've got like crystal balls and...
Yeah, but I would expect it to be like a bag of holding, where it's just like you have a lot of magical crap in a tiny little living space. Nope, this is an urban fantasy. We have technology. So Ghastly's like, what the heck did you do? Skulduggery's like, so... And Ghastly's like, I'm not doing this. But of course he does it. And that's what I kind of like about him. He's like, this is not happening. You're not going to go to my storage unit. I'm not making this suit. If something else happens, he's like, I'm not doing this. And of course he does it.
Well, he knows if he doesn't make the suit, she's just going to be in more danger. So he's like, yeah, all right.
And that's what Skulduggery is like, you either do it or she could get hurt. And he's like, gosh, dang it. I was not surprised when his element was earth.
No, elementals can do any of the elements.
He does earth.
So any of them can do earth. Just no one wants to use earth because it's the most unpredictable. Because when you're encased in earth like that, which is apparently the only thing you can do with earth magic, which I think is a little dumb.
A little. Earthquakes? Pits? Sinkholes?
Or like Avatar, where you can make earth levitate. But anyway, apparently you can only encase yourself in earth when you use the earth element. And when you're encased in earth like that, you can't gauge the passage of time.
And who knows when you come out.
And so you could be stuck like that for a couple of hours or a couple of days or 100 years.
Fun.
So no one tries to use it. And he had to use it in that moment. But elementals can use any of the elements. Skulduggery just really likes fire.
And also a car chase happened. And so he has to get a new car. And he has like a really nice car.
I love the canary yellow car so much.
It gave me citrus vibes. If it just had a little orange in it,
Yes, yes.
it would be complete citrus vibes.
Yeah, but usually Skulduggery drives this black Bentley, this beautiful black Bentley that promptly gets beat up and then wrecked.
Apparently often, because he's got a guy on speed dial. And then he just has this car
Gotta have a backup car.
where it's canary yellow and lime green. And it's just,
It's beautiful, and Stephanie hates it.
oh yeah. Which granted, I don't think Skulduggery loves it either. But I think he kind of loves that Stephanie hates it.
No, he likes it. He enjoys driving it, but he's a skeleton and he always wears a disguise, and so it doesn't matter if people see him drive it.
So they have to go to this wax museum because they need to go talk to the elders. And I like this idea that businesses that never seem to fail are actually covers for magic. And I love that it's like, oh no, we're just covering up magic instead of what it probably is with money laundering.
Okay, so Long John Silver's, right? I have one near where I live, right? But when was the last time you saw a commercial for Long John Silver's? When was the last time you saw an advertisement for Long John Silver's?
Surprisingly recently.
Really? I haven't in years.
Because I turned to my husband and I was like, this still exists? And he's like, yeah. And then we had a conversation about how he's actually eaten at Long John Silver's. And I was like, I've never met anyone in my life who has actually gone there. Apparently, my husband is a wizard.
I technically have eaten at a Long John Silver's. However, it was a Long John Silver's attached to a KFC, and I was ordering KFC in the building. But I've eaten inside of one.
That feels like it doesn't count.
But are they real? There's no way it's not a cover for something, right?
Right. It's no way. So apparently my husband's a wizard because he's actually been to Long John Silver's. That's what I'm counting this is. So the cleavers are creepy.
Cleavers are just like the guards outside of the Imperial Palace to some extent. They're trained to be stoic and not respond to anything, but cleavers are also like highly trained in magic and weaponry.
And Skulduggery specifically makes a note where he's like, I'm so glad they're on our side, which made me think, okay, so how long will they be on your side for?
Foreshadowing!
Foreshadowing. Okay, when did the Dementors turn? Like, let's be honest.
Okay, but Dementors are very obviously evil. Cleavers are just guards.
You can't see their face.
They're wearing helmets.
Yeah, I know. That's sketchy.
Because they're guards.
Sketch. So there's a book that lists everybody's name, like all of them, including the universe name that can't be destroyed.
Because it was apparently made when the universe was made and blah, blah, blah. Magic. Ooh.
And all I could think is, the point is to keep this book away from prying eyes, why are we showing this to this random 12-year-old?
Because she's gonna find out about it eventually, and because the reader needs to know about the book.
Because, foreshadowing.
And it's on display. It's not a secret. Everybody knows about the book.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of foreshadowing, it's mentioned by Skulduggery or by the other dude that's there.
I don't think they ever actually give him a name. I think he's literally just like the steward or something.
I could check, but honestly, I don't care enough. He dies. But they're like, oh, it's protected by the willpower of the elders. And I was like, so you just need to take the elders out and you get the book.
Yep.
And guess what happened?
Yep.
The one elder that betrays them is an idiot. Of course he's going to kill you to get to the book.
Of course he's gonna kill you too.
Why are you dumb?
Did you really think he wasn't going to?
Why are you an elder? You're stupid. Granted, the other ones were like, oh, there's no way Serpine is evil.
No, they know he's evil. They're just like, there's no way he's doing anything. He wouldn't break the treaty. He wouldn't start the war again. Right. Okay.
Why not?
Along the lines of Tome not realizing that he was going to also be killed, every time Serpine talks about the old gods that he's trying to bring back, which is why he steals the book in the first place, or tries to steal the book in the first place, he's like, they will reward me for bringing them back and blah, blah, blah.
No, they won't.
And I'm like, the old gods are evil.
They're gonna kill you.
To them, you are an ant. What makes you think they're going to give you diddly squat?
They might just kill you for funsies.
They are not going to care. They're going to be like, thanks, bye.
That's always what hits it.
You are an intelligent person.
When it's just ambiguous evil gods, I'm like, why are you following them? Oh, they will reward me. Why?
Why?
They are chaotic evil.
Sure, you brought them back. They're going to feel like they don't owe you because they're going to feel like
that's how it should be.
Because they're gods, that's how it should be. They're not going to give you anything.
They're not going to be owing to you in any sort of way.
It just boggles my mind.
But yeah, so we know from almost the very beginning of the book, and it's like, okay, so this is how the ending's going to happen.
Foreshadowing.
Surprise, not surprise. Oh my gosh, so we're going to skip all of that.
Let's talk about Tanith.
Tanith is very cool, but she doesn't come in until much later.
I mean, there's snippets of her.
I will say, I was honestly surprised how many people the author killed in this first book.
Yeah, none of them matter.
We got to the end, and I was literally writing down who the heck is still alive.
The only people that matter.
Everyone died.
Not everyone.
Okay, so we've got Skulduggery, Stephanie, Tanith, Ghastly Sorta, the White Cleaver, China Sorrows, maybe Bliss, and shockingly, all of Stephanie's family.
Bliss is still alive.
Okay, because they were like, maybe he's still alive. And I was like, I have a feeling he's still alive.
Yeah, they make it kind of vague, but no. Of course, it's been a hot minute since I've read the next couple of books. I'm pretty sure he pops up in the next book pretty quickly. Because they have to find a new council of elders immediately, because they're all dead.
Yeah, all of them. All of these characters that have been introduced. The author was like, nah.
The author was like, all right, so you know the government structure for this section of the magical community? They're all dead now.
Yeah, all of them.
I have killed them.
But yeah, this book was intense. I wrote it down. I was like, who the heck is still here? And a part of me was like, this is a really good way to prevent the, oh, it's the second book. Who's new? Who's going to die? When you're like, are you being introduced to me because you're a new character? Because we need a lot of new characters now. Everyone is dead. Or are you being introduced to me to die? I will not know.
Should I get attached to you? Yes or no?
For real, though. So they go to a museum.
It's when they're going to the storage unit, and it's in the bottom of the museum. They have to break in because Ghastly said he didn't want to let them in.
And there's vampires because, you know.
Yeah, vampires make the greatest guard dogs. You lock them in, you leave them alone, and no one goes in at night. And because they become feral beasts at night, literally shedding their skin, foolproof.
Which I'm very glad they stay in the museum.
Ha ha ha.
Gosh, Gosh dang it, guys.
Sorry, they bring vampires back in either the next book or the next book. I think it's the next one.
Well, I just meant those specific ones. I'm very glad that the magical world is like, here's a job. And they're like, okay, we shall do the job and not just break out and go on a murder spree. You know, that's a lot of trust.
Hey, if you're a vampire and you didn't pick to be a vampire, you don't really have a control over the beast form. And so, yeah, if you can choose to have your job be locked in a building at night, knowing that you're not going to get out and accidentally kill somebody.
Works out, I guess.
Yeah, I would assume that they're reinforced. However, they do break out of the building.
Oh, they do break out of the building.
Yeah, you read about them breaking out of the building when Skulduggery and a vampire literally jumped out of a window.
Yeah, but they murdered them.
Did they? I don't think they did.
Let's see. With Skull's help and a lot of glass shattering, they defeat the vampires. I don't know what defeat means.
I may or may not have skimmed that bit. I honestly don't remember. I want to assume that they wouldn't have killed them because they're normal people during the day.
But at the same time, if they're trying to murder you, do you really have an option?
Look, man, this is the trolley car question, right? With the one person tied to one set of tracks and the three people tied to the other set of tracks.
But instead of murdering someone on the tracks, you murdered the person at the switch. So yeah, they just go to the storage unit that's under this museum, which honestly, that's probably the best place for it. I'm for it. Much better than a wax museum. Why?
Because would you think that there'd be anything like that in a wax museum?
I don't tend to like to think about wax museums so fair.
Also, there's a good chance that it didn't used to be a wax museum and they built the wax museum at some point later.
Oh my gosh, what do you think that conversation was like?
I don't know. I feel like it'd be like millennia back when it's different council of elders, right? And one of them is just slightly off his gourd and he's like, I have this brilliant idea. We're going to build a wax museum on top as cover.
Yeah, because I feel like at some point they had to make that decision to be like, guys, we really need to modernize. The store is sticking out. We can't have an apothecary just hanging around. And the one guy in the back is like, I got an idea what we could make it.
Wax museum.
I love it. But there's one scene of Stephanie where she clears a gap because she's not supposed to sneak into the museum with Skulduggery, and of course she does. But she clears a gap from a tree to the building, and there's no way she didn't clear that without magic, but that's never brought up ever again.
She just tries really hard.
There's no way you didn't just use wind magic.
She just tries really hard.
But we're not gonna ever bring that up again when it's like, oh, she can totally do magic. Nope.
Hey, sometimes when you have a plot hole, you're just kind of like, I hope no one notices. I hope I wrote this in a way that no one will actually question it.
I mean, you have a built-in excuse. Magic.
She had a hard time gripping that edge. She almost didn't make it. It's fine.
So they get out lots of information about the scepter, and that's also where Skulduggery is like, oh my gosh, I realized where he's hidden the thing, because they realize Gordon has hidden the scepter. I don't know why this didn't occur to Skulduggery earlier, but under the house that she has inherited, there is a system of tunnels.
Well, he had to piece together that Gordon actually had the scepter, and to get to that point, he had to actually have the brain thought, which I'm sure he already had, but it needed a light bulb off, that someone killed him specifically to get something that you can only obtain when the owner is dead.
Yeah.
And so they killed him specifically to get something like that, and since it's Serpine, he's trying to bring back the gods, and they're talking about the scepter, then that's clearly what Gordon had.
Yeah, but even Stephanie calls him out on it. He's like, oh yeah, by the way. And Stephanie's like, are you kidding me?
Are you serious right now?
When were you going to tell me this?
You need to know information. Dangerous down there, and you're 12, and you're curious, and you would have gone down by yourself if I told you.
She could have gone there by herself without telling her.
No, because you need the key to open the door.
True. Still.
And the door is not where the keyhole was.
With Stephanie's luck is all I'm saying.
No, because you had to have the key to get in.
Well, then why did it matter if he told her or not?
Because it's Stephanie.
Because it's Skulduggery, and he will not tell you anything, ever.
Because he thinks he's being mysterious, and he's not actually.
He's being helpful, and it's not helpful.
I don't know if he's ever genuinely tried to be helpful in his entire life.
true neutral.
I think he's chaotic good, because he is a detective on the side of quote-unquote good, but he's extremely chaotic.
Is he on the side of good, or is he just not on Sir Pine's side?
No, he's on the good side.
Okay, because that was brought into question this book, and it's like, good question.
No, he's on the good side, because he still fights for good even after Sir Pine dies.
Okay, good.
If he hadn't, I probably wouldn't still be reading these books.
Fair. So yeah, there's tunnels under the house, and also Sir Pine has paper monsters.
They're easy to throw together. It's like a lazy, I need guards magic that's apparently necromantic.
And so he just creates origami guards.
I feel like it's more like paper mache, because they feel like giant air sacs.
Oh.
Because they're literally filled with air.
I thought of origami.
No, think more paper mache. Think if you were to take mummy wrappings, but paper mache them onto like a big bulbous form and then fill it with air.
See, the whole paper guards made me happy that this book didn't get a movie deal. Because can you imagine 2008, 2009 CGI graphics trying to create them?
I think that would have been okay.
Unless you do stop motion, I don't think it would have looked good.
Nah, I think it would have been alright. I'm thinking like wrinkled skin looking. You probably could have made a costume pretty easy.
True, but...
Because, I mean, they don't really have faces. They're just big forms that have to have wrinkled kind of skin, paper-esque looking stuff with big, heavy, rock-like fists. So I think you could have made costumes.
I don't know. It could have gone either way.
In that time period, they would have tried to CGI it when they should have done costumes.
Yes.
Also, it would have depended on the budget.
Yeah, I think practical effects would have been better.
Yes.
But that's the point where they're at the cellar. They're like, oh, this is where the key goes. And then that's where Skulduggery gets kidnapped. And Stephanie is now without her Skulduggery. And they have to break into the castle to save him. And that is where the 1.5 is. It's 28 pages about what happened to Skulduggery while he was in the castle, which is pretty cool.
Did you read it?
I did not. I have it. I don't know. I've been so wrapped up in this Barbara Kingsolver book. And we were like, let's record today. And I was like, oh.
Don't say let's record today. Oh, you asked me.
Exactly. I was, oh crap, I don't have time to read that. But it's there. It's on Libby. It's called The Lost Art of World Domination. Go read it for yourself. So that is when she is without her Skulduggery and she's lost. And she's like, China, help me. And China's like, cool. No.
We haven't talked about China before this point in time.
China sorrows. There's not much to talk about.
Is a collector of many items and so runs a library, but the library is really just all of her collection. She's not an elementalist. She's the other one. I forget what it's called off the top of my head.
Where she can manipulate your mind and not elements.
I mean, she can do that, but that genre of magic actually could be necromancy, it could be the mind manipulation thing, it could be seer stuff like fortune telling, whatnot. It's a much broader...
Basically everything but not elemental.
Yes, but you still have to pick a sub-niche in that genre. You can't do a little of everything in that genre.
Fair.
They go more into detail about it in the later books as Stephanie starts to pick which magical road she wants to go down, because you only have a certain period of time
to choose.
Yeah, well, sort of. You have time to play around with different magics, but you hit a point in your magical learning where you will lock in and that will be the only magic you're able to do.
Fun.
Yeah, it goes more into depth in the next couple of books.
Well, China makes everybody like her. That's what she has chosen.
I mean, that's not the only thing she can do. She does like a shape magic, so it's one of the shapes that she has control over. He doesn't go into depth on necessarily how her magic works.
He doesn't talk about China much at all.
Yeah, I can't remember if we go into more detail about how her magic works or not. I know it has to do with shapes, which she has tattooed on her body and in her abode.
See, that's way more information than we got this book.
Cool, it's in the next book then. Yeah, shapes.
Because that's why I was like, we haven't talked about China, but there's not much to talk about with China.
China is...
self-serving, question mark?
Neutral.
Pure neutral?
I don't know if it's pure neutral or a lawful neutral in like a follows her own law. I think it's probably like a lawful neutral where she follows her own code. Because she's not necessarily good and she's not necessarily bad.
Because Stephanie's like, oh my gosh, we need to help him. And China's like, cool. I'm not doing that.
Well, she had her reason. She was like, I'm not prepared to be thrown into the middle of a war.
Yeah.
And you're not going to start the war. And Stephanie's like, the war already started. So.
Yeah. But not only was China like, oh, I don't want to help you. But she's also like, also, I know your name is Stephanie, and I'm going to prevent you from being able to even tell anyone about this.
Because Stephanie hasn't chosen a name for herself, so people can still control her with her given name.
And then Stephanie chooses a name, and then suddenly it doesn't work, and I'm still confused.
When you choose a name, it seals the given name. I don't know why people then still use the chosen name over the given name. I figure it's because they had to choose one to begin with, so they might as well use it in the magical community. I want to assume that's the reason. But when you choose a name, it seals the given name and people can no longer use it against you.
Yeah, because China's like, well, what's your new name? And I thought Stephanie was going to be like, oh, I can't tell you that. But no, she's like, I'm Valkyrie Kane.
Yeah, because you pick a new name because it's the one people are going to then use. It's purely just to seal the given name. It's not going to give people power over you or anything like that. It just seals the given name, and then no one can have control over you unless they somehow find out the universe name.
Which is why he needs the big book of everything.
Which is why he needs the big book of everything, yes.
But that's when I was confused, because it was like, well, China knows both your names. But anyway, she picks a new name finally. It's Valkyrie Kane. Also, she met Tanith randomly, and she's gonna come back.
I love Tanith. Tanith's amazing.
So she gets Ghastly's address from China.
She gets his address from a phone book on China's dressing room table.
Oh yeah, China didn't give it to her, of course. But this is in the midst of everyone being like, oh, there's totally not a war going on. It's definitely being like, there's a war going on. And I was just like, that's just like people to not rock the boat, even though the boat is rocking. We are about to fall out of the boat. No. But they're like, okay, here's 2 cleavers and Mr. Bliss since Tareth. And they go on and they rescue Skulduggery from the castle. Except one of the cleavers gets kidnapped and experimented on. And now he is the white cleaver.
You said Tareth?
Is it Tareth or Tanith? Which one's right?
Tanith.
It's Tanith? Well, I wrote it down wrong in my notes. All of them are Tareth. And I read the physical copy.
You've been saying Tanith, or I've been hearing you wrong.
Okay, maybe it's just I go back and forth. I do that sometimes in my notes. Oh well. Tanith, wherever the heck I said that. So yeah, there's a white cleaver now.
They kill him and then bring him back to life using necromantic liquids. So he's kind of invincible. And then Serpine does it again to himself and only really did it to the cleaver as a test run.
Yeah.
So Serpine kills himself and brings himself back to life using necromantic juices.
And also costume change. So he is now the white cleaver, so he can tell the difference.
Hermaphroditic juices from a hermaphroditic flower, like in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, try saying that 5 times fast.
I'm not even 100% sure I said it correct.
I can't even do it one time. So they get Skull out. And they're like, oh my gosh, the key is the brooch, which was what we mentioned earlier, because you were like, no, they did inherit something important. It was the ugly brooch.
Which they hated. They hated it.
And Stephanie goes to their house and steals it.
Her living uncle and his wife.
Yeah, because if they knew she wanted it, they would want it.
And has a really awkward conversation with them, and then is suddenly like, can I use your bathroom? And just kind of darts inside and upstairs and goes through her aunt's jewelry box to find the brooch.
And then leaves. And they're all like, hey, you've been hanging out with that weird dude. And she's like, what?
Nope, you're hallucinating.
No, silly.
That's crazy. Are you sure you saw me? She's like, no, I saw you. And she's like, no, you didn't. No, that was somebody else.
Well, we had a productive conversation, so bye. And then I love this, the nonchalance. So she has the brooch and she's waiting on Skulduggery to pick her up. And her dad just pops up and is like, oh, and by the way, your grandfather believed that we were the descendants of the last of the ancients.
Okay, but he doesn't just pop it on her. They're having like a whole conversation because she's been acting weird.
It makes sense in context.
It makes sense in context because she's been acting weird because they've turned her reflection into like a living being kind of to take her place when she's not there. And so it doesn't really have emotions. And so it acts weird around her parents. And so her dad's like, are you getting into the weird crowd that Gordon was in? Because your aunt says that you've been hanging out with some of the weird people. And she's like, no, I haven't. He's like, okay, cool. Because his grandfather, her great-grandfather, was like completely woohoo bonkers and said we were descended from magic and blah. The last of the ancients.
I just love it contextually as a plot point.
He's like, oh, by the way.
Oh, by the way, it's gonna drop some knowledge about your family that we never told you, even though you were close to your uncle.
Why would he? When would that have come up?
Not the dad, but I was surprised Gordon wasn't like, oh, I guess he kept all of magic from her, but why? Anyway.
So that she wouldn't end up in the magical world. She's like 12.
Tisk tisk, Gordon. We could have been better prepared for this.
She's 12. He had no reason to tell her.
Well, she's in it now.
He might have mentioned it when she was older.
Oh, and also Mr. Bliss betrays them to Serpine because he doesn't say betrayed them, but you know, because everyone's like, oh, that Mr. Bliss, you never know whose side he's on. Foreshadowing.
Bliss is also lawful neutral. He was playing for the side that he thought was going to win at that moment in time.
Yeah. And then later he saves them again because he's like, wait a second. Winning side.
Yeah, because then he sees all of the chips on the playing field. He sees how the chessboard's laid out, and he's like, okay, cool. Right. All right. Okay. I see what we're doing now. Cool.
Switcheroo.
Honestly, I think he gave Serpine the brooch because he was like, he's going to get the scepter anyway. Might as well let him have it, and then we'll have all the chips on the playing field, and I can see what we're actually working with.
He could be playing 4D chess while everyone's playing checkers for all we know.
I honestly think he was playing 4D chess.
He's like, this needs to happen, so to do that, we need to do this, so we could do that, and do this, and that, and that.
Yes.
And everyone's like, is there a war on? And he's already like, I figured this out. So they go to the tunnels, and one of the reasons they know Gordon was there in the tunnels and that they're on the right track is that they find a chocolate wrapper from Gordon, and I'm like, dude, this is no place for snacking.
Sure it is. There's absolutely a place for snacking. 100%.
What are you doing?
It's hardcore insight onto the sort of person that Gordon was.
He was so casual about this.
He really was.
Also, I love that it's a dog monster.
But there's so many other monsters down there.
Dog monster.
We never go down there again. Oh, well, they might. I've only read a few more books after this, so they might, but...
I mean, for all we know, there's a lot going on. There's prequels and trilogies and more prequels. Serpine is also in the tunnels because why wouldn't he be?
Yeah, of course.
So this is where I'm a little foggy. So she has the scepter, except Serpine's there, and they're in the caves.
Right.
Because Stephanie was a descendant of the ancients, the scepter doesn't really respond to her, and so she's able to be sneaky, although she's not sneaky enough because her plan doesn't work out. But she can be sneaky, which you're supposed to not be able to do with the scepter.
The scepter has an alarm, and it alerts the person that holding it when there's other people coming to get you. And because Stephanie's a descendant of the ancients, it doesn't alert to her presence because it's like, that's my fam right there.
So they're having to fight, and Tanith shows up because she's cool. And I was like, good, I like her. I'm glad she showed up and is awesome. And then China shows up with her car, and she's like, you know what sounds good? Helping you guys. And they're like, why are you helping us? And she says, because, basically.
Well, because the only reason she wasn't helping before was because she didn't want the war to start. And then when Stephanie left, it was like, oh, well, I guess the war's on anyway. Might as well help the people I consider my friends, sort of.
Dang it, I have been thwarted by this 12-year-old.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, might as well go help her.
Okay, so now at this point, Serpine has the scepter, managed to defeat the rest of the group, and China had to come save them and take them away.
Yes. And shock and surprise, he's going for the big book that he can now get to because the elders don't exist anymore.
No, because he kills them with the scepter. He had to get the scepter to kill the elders because the elders are extremely powerful and he couldn't take them on by himself, and so he gets the scepter to kill them.
Yeah, Tome betrays them, and so Serpine can step out and be like, oh, I'm the villain.
He gets them out in the open so that Serpine can take them out.
And then Tome is like, cool, awesome. Now what? And Serpine's like, evil laugh, ha ha ha, and takes him down. This is, of course, all direct quotes. This is not me paraphrasing at all. And so, yeah, shock and surprise, he's going for the big book that lists everybody's name. And there's a cleaver that is attacking them.
Because Serpine wants to take out Stephanie specifically so that Skulduggery won't be brain thoughts anymore. He'll just be anger.
Yeah, because apparently that's his go-to, is just killing the people that Skulduggery cares about to make him fly into a rage so he can overpower him with smarts.
Yeah, because Skulduggery had a wife and child, and then Serpine killed them.
And then tortured him, and then that's how he became a skeleton. And that's why Skulduggery doesn't like Serpine.
Oh yeah, because he's killed Skulduggery too, and Skulduggery was like, well, F that, I'm just gonna go back to life.
I am existing on spite alone.
Yo.
Except not spite alone, because he's still alive after Serpine's dead.
Yes.
But basically, those elders are so dumb. I didn't feel bad they died. I was just like, you guys are dumb. And now you've thrust the world into a very terrible situation governmentally. I'm not surprised the next book is like, so we don't have a government. We need to fix that.
It's kind of fixed-ish in between the books, kinda.
Oh, okay. Well, good, because it might get a little bit boring talking about magic bureaucracy. But the Sanctuary is an absolute massacre. Everybody dies. And I wasn't sure who was going to die, because Tanith had this really cool fight scene in this prison.
And she almost dies.
And she almost died, and I thought she was going to die because the White Cleaver shows up, and Tanith is locked in the prison. And so one side, she's got these prisoners, and on the other side is the White Cleaver. And it was like, well, she's dead. But she didn't die.
The prisoners are all in cages. They can't get her.
No. But still, it's not exactly a great situation to be in. I will say Serpine does wait to betray Tome until they're at the Sanctuary again. I was like, cool, dude. You get an extra hour.
Well, because he tries without killing Tome before having to actually kill Tome, because he's like, I should be able to do this with 2 of the elders killed, and then he can't. He's like, well, you know what that means.
So we need to give him that due. He did try.
He did try.
Which is more than the evil gods are gonna do. This guy is so stupid.
See, I think that's probably an ego thing, though. He was like, I can do this with 1 elder still alive. I'm strong enough for that.
I am stronger than him. Yeah, well, nope. I wonder if that's foreshadowing for when they meet the evil god. I don't know if you've read that far, but I wonder if that's... No, Serpine's dead. Maybe it's foreshadowing for somebody else, where the evil gods are like, I will keep you around for my amusement. Okay, I am not amused anymore. Death.
The evil gods aren't quite like that.
Okay, got some thoughts. We will see. Because I think there's one that's title of the book is the name of the ancient ones, I think. And I was like, oh, I wonder what that book's about.
Haha, ha ha. I have read that far.
So this is when Bliss is like, oh, I'm on Serpine's side. JK, I'm on y'all's side. And he betrays Serpine. Though not very well, but I'm going to stick with the 4D chess he needed to do what he needed to do. Oh, by the way, Stephanie has a broken leg.
Yeah, Serpine has broken her leg. There's been a big epic battle, and Serpine has broken her leg by this point.
And so she's trying to manage that in Skulduggery.
Gets sucked into a wall by Serpine by these big, weird magic hand things.
Yeah, but also he was using the book as a shield from the scepter, and I was like, bruh.
I mean, that's brilliant, because it's indestructible. Well, until the scepter destroys it.
Exactly!
But it's indestructible. But to be fair, the scepter is also indestructible, because they're built from the same magics-ish.
Serpine uses his hand on Stephanie, and Skull uses the scepter on Serpine.
Do you know why that works? Because you're not supposed to be able to use it unless the owner is died, right?
Oh, okay.
And Serpine's dead. I mean, now he's dead, but he was dead when he grabbed it.
Yes, that makes sense. But also, I was totally predicting that Stephanie would have to deal with the hand and still survive. Protagonist powers activate!
Woo!
Because I'm not sure why that worked. I don't remember if they said why that worked or not.
I think he was doing it nice and slow to get on Skulduggery's nerves, which is why he had time.
Do it. Okay. It's like a adult snake.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, Stephanie manages to live.
Yes.
On the way out, they grab Tanith. She's still alive. Yay!
Yeah, it's like, what took you guys so long?
And then China is conveniently there to be like, Skulduggery didn't just kill Serpine. He neutralized the scepter.
Dun dun dun. We never have to worry about this ever again.
And she now owns it.
Well, yeah, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah. She's like, I don't think Bliss is dead. Because isn't Bliss her brother?
Yes.
So she's like, I don't think Bliss is dead. So you know Bliss isn't dead.
Well, I've also read further.
Oh, also, the siege is when Ghastly used his rock powers. We did not mention that when that happened, but that happened during all this craziness.
It happens when they find out about the whole necromancy stuff and the Cleaver tries to attack Stephanie the first time before they manage to get away.
So Skulduggery's friend mends Stephanie's leg because, you know, it was broken and she can't just go home with a broken leg.
I love him so much. He comes back a lot. He's a recurring character and I enjoy him thoroughly.
I feel like he would need to be with how their adventures go.
It's because he is.
She has to wait a few days for it to go back to normal. But hey, that's not bad for a broken leg. Oh, that was it. So the White Cleaver, he was about to totally kill Tanith, and then he just gets up and walks away.
No, his prerogative is to get to Stephanie, and because he could put a door between himself and Tanith, he chose to do so.
Well, there was a scene where he was about to kill somebody, and then he just walked away.
Yeah, that's near the end when Serpine loses power over him or something, and it's like, well, I don't actually have to obey you anymore.
Something happened, and they were like, what the heck was that about? And they were talking about it later, and they were like, I guess somebody else controls him. I was like, oh.
No, he controls himself now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, because Serpine was the one in charge of him, and then when Serpine lost power, I forget what happened there. It's been a little bit.
Because they were talking like somebody else was giving him orders, and I was like, oh, that's mysterious. We'll know for next book something's going to come up, probably. But the regular cleavers are now severely understaffed.
Well, yes.
Because, you know, the whole bloodbath murder spree. So that's different than I thought it would be. I thought they would just turn, and they were like, nope, fight to the end. It was like, oh, good job, guys. But Tanith is safe. Stephanie's on the mend. Skulduggery's skulduggering. Ghastly is stuck as a rock. They don't know who's going to take over because, you know, the elders are dead. But no one's trust Skulduggery to do it. I love that part. Who were like, we need to figure this out, but not him. Definitely not him. And so Skulduggery finally relents, and he's like, okay, I'll take you on as my magic student. And Stephanie produces a small flame on her palm. Doesn't she also give him a thumbs up with a little fire thingy?
I can't remember.
My mind might have made that up, but that would have been a cool way to end. So yeah, Skulduggery pleasant. It's a lot of action. It's very good. I enjoyed it. The conversations are very good. I could not give you an example off the top of my head with all my paraphrasing, but I enjoyed the conversation. They were very realistic and quirky in a good way, in the way I feel like a lot of authors try to write and don't manage, but this author definitely manages it. So hats for Patrick on that one. I guess we'll meet the villain next time, since, you know, everyone's dead.
You mean the new villain? The one that gets to be the next villain in the next book?
Yeah, I thought, since I saw that they were kind of set up as trilogies, and so I thought the first 30 would be Serpine, so I was actually kind of surprised when they killed him.
No. And the next villain doesn't last through the next book either, I don't think.
Man, we are just taking them down. No arcs.
Nope.
Except for the big ancient ones.
I mean, there's a big overarching arc. We're just not there yet.
It's like Bleach. Arcs and arcs and arcs.
It's not nearly as bad as Bleach. There are people pulling strings later.
Oh, okay.
Serpine's just evil.
Serpine's just the worst. And Skulduggery was right.
Serpine's a great introductory villain to the world and to the sorts of people they're going to end up having to fight.
Aw, this is your introduction level.
Yeah, kind of. He's just part of the community that want to bring back the old gods.
Stephanie has made it past the tutorial. Yay!
Essentially, yeah. Stephanie's made it past the tutorial.
She finally has magic now. She can potentially learn some fighting stuff.
These books would actually make a really good video game.
Yes. One question for the author. I'm curious why he decided to make it mid-lit. Or at least start in mid-lit. Because he really could have easily made this YA or adult. But he was like, nah, 12-year-old. I'm curious. I want to know why he was like this age level specifically. He does it well, but I'm just curious because it does eventually, as you said, it ages up with the person. So it goes through all the age levels.
Hey, this came out in 2007. When did the first Harry Potter book come out?
1990 something. 99?
Right. And by 2007, pretty popular, right? And that's a British author. And her main character started at 11.
True.
Just a thought.
Maybe I am thinking more of Americans, because American story writing around that time was all about the YA dystopia. Did I say I wanted the film? No, I said I wanted the book. Give me the book. 1997. June 26, 1997. It could be. I could see how Harry Potter influence.
I mean, it could be he's basing the characters off a family member. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just curious. That would be cool to be like, so why midlet?
Could be that he built one of the characters in his head, right? And he's like, who would partner really well with this character? And then ended up building the other character around that, like either Stephanie or Skulduggery.
I feel like Skulduggery Skulduggery came first.
Well, I mean, Stephanie could have also come first, but it could have just been a brain thought of, what if I were to send a child on a wild herring adventure with a detective and there was magic, and then just kind of built it from there?
I don't know. It would be a good question. I don't know if he's given an interview about that. Maybe I'll go find that, but that would be a cool thing to know.
I want to pick his brain on his magic system.
His magic system is apparently much more in depth than I realized, because this book is the tutorial level and shapes is a thing. And now I have more questions.
I'm sure he's got a book.
That's a good question. I would also like to know more about the magic system. Oh my gosh, he has 9 in this first series, 6 in the next, and a prequel. We got something somewhere saying something, but he hasn't thought out. I will say, this does not feel like flying by the seat of your pants. He has thought of it. He knows the physics he's working with.
I mean, or he's flying by the seat of his pants.
Or he's very good at flying by the seat of his pants. That could also be.
If you have a general understanding of how magic systems work, just as a general rule, and you have a baseline to work with, you decently fly by the seat of your pants. You just can't break the general rules.
True. Rating, I'd give this Inheriting an unexpected fortune out of 10. I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. Thought it would probably be a good book. You recommended it, or you really liked it. I was like, oh, it's probably going to be pretty good. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. And like I said, I would totally buy this book just to dissect his writing style and learn from it. What's your rating?
Suddenly being able to do magic out of 10.
See, basically the same thing. I also thought about putting that. It's good. I've sent this book to so many people because I just really like it and I want other people to read it and also like it. So that'll be the next book where I'm like, I'm just going to give this to everyone.
Haha, you must read this. You have no choice.
Surprise! Here's your present obligation. Would you read it again? Yes.
I have several times.
Haha! This is a reread. Would you read it again? I sound like a Teletubby.
I mean, not immediately. I'm gonna send you a YouTube clip of the narrator narrating this book, just because his voice is very, very, very nice, by the way.
Which just makes me think I need to get the audiobook for this book and listen.
Please, he does such a good job.
That's exciting. I love when the audiobook's really good. But, have you read this book? Would you rather be an elemental or an adept? Do you have any book recommendations for us? Tell us all about it in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit like, and if you're enjoying yourself, hit subscribe for more. Thank you for exploring Skulduggery Pleasant with us. I'm Sam Reiner.
And I'm Lizzie Sawyer.
And we hope to see you and a friend here next time. Escape With Me Book Club is a Lunar Skulk production. Check us out on TikTok or Instagram to keep up to date with us. Lunar_SKULK.